Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Let's see if we're alive. Sure. See if we're alive. Right, it is working. Fantastico. Okay, let's go back. Get the camera all set. Good. Okay, gang, you ready? We're going to start chanting Jai Radha Madhava. Got 13 people so far. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Gopichanapa Jaya Giri Vadadari Jaya Giri Vadadari Gopichana Malabha Jaya Giri Vadadari Jaya Giri Vadadari Sodanandana Jaya Prajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Jaya Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Vijana Madhava Jaya Giri Vadodhari Jaya Giri Vadodhari Giri Vadodhari Yasodanandana Jaya Vajrajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Jaya Vajrajana Ranjana Vipunatira Vanachari Layo Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamunatira Vanachari Layo Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvatacharya also Tada Satashi Shimai, His Divine Grace. Abhaya Chanananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Parem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopikapatnath Shyam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Mathuram Ki Jai. Jagadata Sami Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Lalasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Jayatarni. Okay, so Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Miritam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who has so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Okay. So, we got 21 people, which is good. So, we're going to continue with our study of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. We're on the 17th chapter of the Adi Lila, and we may get close to finishing up this chapter today, or we may finish the chapter, or may not finish the chapter. But anyway, we're going to hear about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after we finish this chapter, we go on to the Madhya Lila, that is, the middle pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So far, in the Adi Lila, we've heard about the ontological position of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who he is, why he came down, who his associates are, who the branches of the Chaitanya tree, Lord Nityananda and his branches, Advaita Acharya and his branches, who Srivas Thakur is, who Gadadhar Pandit Goswami is. And then as we get into the Madhya Lila, we're going to talk more about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Jagannath Puri. Okay, so let us go to the Chaitanya Charitamrta. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So I believe, yes, we are on text 277. Yesterday we finished with 276. And so let's continue 277. Gopi Baba Yate Prabhu Tariyache Kanta Brajendra Nandane Mane Apanara Kanta. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the mood of the gopis, who accept Brajendra Nandana Shri Krishna as their lover. Let me just write down one thing, because I have to make a video for someone tonight. I just remembered it. Okay. Alrighty, 278. Gopika Bhavera He Sudrida Nischaya Brajendra Nandana Bina Anyatra Nahaya. It is firmly concluded that the ecstatic mood of the gopis is possible only before Krishna and no one else. Shaima Sundara Shika Picha Gunja Vibhushana Gopa Veshatri Vangima Murali Vadana. He has a bluish complexion, a peacock feather on his head, a gunja garland, and the decorations of a cowherd boy. His body is curved in 3 places, and he holds a flute to his mouth. This, of course, is Krishna. So if you don't know what gunja is, they're these red and black berries that are only found in Vrindavan, as far as I know. And if you ever travel with them, be careful, because in certain countries you're not allowed to enter these countries with them. And I have had my gunjamala taken away. What do I use the gunjamala for? Not for myself. I am not Krishna. The gunjamala represents Srimati Radharani. So when you have Govardhan Shilas, that means the stones from Govardhan Hill that the devotees worship as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you surround the Govardhan Shilas with Gunja Mala. A mala means like a necklace. Okay. Gunja is the particular berry. And also the Gunja berry is poisonous, so don't try eating it, because it's a remnant. You may go back to Godhead a little prematurely. Ihachari Krishna Yadi Haya Nihakara Gopikara Bhavi Nahi Haya Nikatatahara. If Lord Krishna gives up this original form and assumes another Vishnu form, nearness to him cannot invoke the ecstatic mood of the gopis. Gopinam Pashupendra Nandana Jusho Vavasya Kastam Kriti Vigatung Shamate Duruha Padavi Sancharina Rakriham Avishkurvate Vaishnavim Apitanum Tasmin Bujaj Jishnu Bir Ayasam Hanta Chatupir Adbhutaruchim Ragodaya Kunchati. Once Lord Sri Krishna playfully manifested himself as Narayan, with 4 victorious hands and a very beautiful form. When the gopis saw this exalted form, however, their ecstatic feelings were crippled. Even a learned scholar, therefore, cannot understand the gopis' ecstatic feelings, which are firmly fixed upon the original form of Lord Krishna as the son of Nanda Maharaj. The wonderful feelings of the gopis and ecstatic Parama Ras with Krishna constitute the greatest mystery in spiritual life. This is a quotation from the Lalita Madhava 6:15 by Srila Rupa Goswami. Let me tell you a little bit more about that story. Once upon a time, the gopis were looking for Krishna. And Krishna was hiding from them. And he hid, manifesting himself as Narayan, Lord Narayan, God. So the gopis came upon Lord Narayan. They didn't know that Narayan and Krishna are the same. That means 4-handed form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they offered obeisances. They said, or my dear Narayana, oh God, please bless us. Please give us a benediction. And Narayan said, what benediction do you want, my dear girls? And they said, we want Krishna. Tell us where Krishna is. And so Narayan did not. Then Srimati Radharani came. And she saw Narayan, but when Krishna saw her, he couldn't keep the extra 2 arms, and they kept disappearing. So Krishna was not able to hide from Srimati Radharani. And there is a very beautiful temple near Govardhan Hill called the Chaturbhuj Temple. That means the 4-armed form of the Lord. And there's a very beautiful deity there that we were fortunate enough to get a picture of. We had to be a little tricky to get a picture of the deity. And we had to lure the pujari away from the deities to take the picture. And we lured the pujari away from the deities, or at least the devotee who took the picture lured the pujari away from the deities using a young girl. Very good trick. Anyway, we hit some beautiful deities, and it's right near Govardhan Hill. Wonderful, beautiful deity. And Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he chanted there, and there is a temple to Lakshmi there, and a kund there to Lakshmi, right next to the temple. And when we do the Govardhan Parikrama online, sometimes we can show you that picture, the picture of the deities, the picture of the Lakshmi place, and the picture of where Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu sat and chanted the holy names. Vasanta Kale Rasa Lila Kare Govardhane Antardana Kaila Sanketa Kari Radhasane. During the season of springtime, when the rasa dance was going on, suddenly Krishna disappeared from the scene, indicated that he wanted to be alone with Srimati Radharani. Nibrikta Nikunje Vaside Ke Radhara Bhata Anveshite Aila Tahan Gopikara Tata. Krishna was sitting in a solitary bush waiting for Srimati Radharani to pass by, but while he was searching, the gopis arrived there like a phalanx of soldiers. That means a whole bunch of soldiers. Durahaite Krishna Deki Bali Gopi Gana Edeka Kunjera Vitara Rajendra Nandana. Just see, the gopis said, seeing Krishna from a distant place, here within a bush is Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Gopi Gana Deki Krishnera Haila Sadhasa Lukhaite Narila Bhaye Haila Vibhasha. As soon as Krishna saw her, all the gopis were struck with emotion. Thus he could not hide himself, and out of fear he became motionless. Chaturbhuja Murtidare Achena Vasiha Krishna Deki Gopi Kahe Nikate Asiha. Krishna assumed his four-armed Narayan form and sat there. When all the gopis came, they looked at him and spoke as follows. Ihon Krishna Nahi, Ihon Narayana Murti, Eta Vali Tanre Save, Kare Nati Tuti. He is not Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. After saying this, they offered obeisances and the following respectful prayers. Namo Narayana Devakara Prasada Krishna Sangha Deha Mora Gu Guchaha Vishada. O Lord Narayana, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Kindly be merciful to us. Give us the association of Krishna and thus vanquish our lamentation. That's the story I just told. The gopis were not made happy even by seeing the four-armed form of Narayana. Yet they offered their respects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and begged from him the benediction of achieving the association of Krishna. Such is the ecstatic mood of the gopis. Eta Bali Namaskare Gela Gopi Gana Hena Kale Radha Hasidina Darashana. After saying this and offering obeisances, all the gopis dispersed. Then Srimati Radharani came and appeared before Lord Krishna. Radha Deki Krishna Tanre Hasya Karite Se Chaturbhuja Murti Jahena Rakite. When Lord Krishna saw Radharani, he wanted to maintain the four-armed form to joke with her. Lukaila Dui Bhuja Radhara Agrete Bahu Yatna Kaila Krishna Narila Rakite. In front of Srimati Radharani, Krishna had to hide the two extra arms. He tried his best to keep four arms before her, but he was completely unable to do so. So what that means is that Radharani's love controls Krishna. And even though Krishna is God, he becomes powerless. He's the supreme power. Ekala Ishra Krishna Arasanda Vricha, he's the supreme controller. Yet he becomes controlled by Srimati Radharani, her love for him. Radhara Vishuddha Bhavera Chincha prabhava ye krishnere koraila dvibhusha swabhava. The influence of Radharani's pure ecstasy is so inconceivably great that it forced Krishna to come to his original two-armed form. That's why when we go to Vrindavan, what do we chant? Radhe, 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 Radhe. So anyway, I told the story before, but you can hear it again, that when I stay in Vrindavan, I'm always chanting Radhe, 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 Radhe. And so when I went to Mayapur one time where they chant Hare Krishna, which is the same thing as Radha and Krishna, I got severely chastised by one of the devotees when I said, Radhe, Radhe. They said, ah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He said, that's the same thing. Why are you chastising me? Radhe, Radhe. So, Rasaramba Vidhao Nilya Vasata Kunje Mrig Dakshi Ganayar Drishtam Gopayatum Swamuduradhiya Yashushtu Sadarshita Hridaya Pranayasya Hanta Makimayasya Shriya Rakshitum Sasakya Prabhavishnu Napi Harina Nashich Chatur Bakuta. Prior to the rasa dance, Lord Krishna hid himself in a grove just to have fun. When the gopis came, their eyes resembling those of deers by his sharp intelligence, he exhibited his beautiful forearm form to hide himself. But when Srimati Radharani came there, Krishna could not maintain his forearms in her presence. This is the wonderful glory of her love. So this is a quotation from the Ujjvala Nilamani, Nayika, Beta 7 by Srila Rupa Goswami. Of course, the Ujjvala Nilamani is the postgraduate study of the Nectar of Devotion in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and should be read by the devotees when they are on a very high platform. Say Vrajeshwarihan Jagannatha Pita, Say Vrajeshwarihan Shachi Devi Mata. Father Nanda, the king of Brajabhumi, is now Jagannath Mishra, the father of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mother Yashoda, the queen of Brajabhumi, is now Shachi Devi, Lord Chaitanya's mother. Say Nanda Sutta Ihan Chaitanya Goshani, Say Baladeva Ihan. Whoops. Say Baladeva Hiyan Nityananda Bai. The former son of Nanda Maharaj is now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the former Baladeva, Krishna's brother, is now Nityananda Prabhu, the brother of Lord Chaitanya. But Salya Dasya Sakyatina Baba Maya, Say Nityananda Krishna Chaitanya Sahaya. Sri Nityananda Prabhu always feels the ecstatic emotions of paternity, servitude, and friendship. He always assists Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this way. Prema Bhakti Diyaten Hon Vasala Jagate Tanra Charitra Loke Napare Bhushite. Sri Nityananda Prabhu overflooded the entire world by distributing transcendental loving service. No one can understand his character and activities. Advaita Acharya Goshani Bhaktavatar Krishna Bhattariya Kaila Bhaktira Prachar. Srila Advaita Acharya Prabhu appeared as an incarnation of a devotee. He is in the category of Krishna, but he descended to this earth to propagate devotional service. Satyadasya Dvibhava Sahaja Tanhara Kabu Prabhu Karena Tanre Guru Vyavahara. His natural emotions were always on the platform of fraternity and servitude, but the Lord sometimes treated him as a spiritual master. Shivasadiyata Mahaprabhura Bhaktagana Nija Nija Bhave Karena Chaitanya Sevana. All the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, headed by Srivas Thakur, have their own emotional humors in which they render service unto him. So a humor in this case doesn't mean necessarily something funny. It means a feeling, basically. A taste, a feeling. Basically a taste and a feeling you get from that taste. Not just eating, but a taste of doing something. Take it in a figurative sense when you use the word taste. Pandita Goshani Adi Yanrake Yerasa Se Rase Prabhu Hana Tanra Vasha. Personal associates like Gadadhara, Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, and the 6 Goswamis headed by Rupa Goswami are all situated in their respective transcendental humors. Thus the Lord submits to various positions in various transcendental mellows. Mellows is rasas. In verse 296 through 301, the emotional devoted service of Sri Nityananda, Sri Advaita Prabhu, and others had been fully described. Describing such individual service, the Gora Ganadesh Dipika 11-16 declares that although Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as a devotee, he is none other than the son of Nanda Maharaj. That's Krishna's father. Similarly, although Sri Nityananda Prabhu appeared as Lord Chaitanya's assistant, he is none other than Baladev, the carrier of the plow. Advaitacharya is the incarnation of Sadashiva from the spiritual world. All the devotees headed by Srivas Thakur are his marginal energy, is also Narada Muni, whereas the devotees headed by Gadadhar Pandit are manifestations of his internal potency, Srimati Radharani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu all belong to the Vishnu Tattva category. We described what that was before. I don't think we need to get into that again. Because Lord Chaitanya is an ocean of mercy, he is addressed as Mahaprabhu, whereas Nityananda and Advaita, being 2 great personalities who assist Lord Chaitanya, are addressed as Prabhu. Thus there are 2 Prabhus and 1 Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Goswami is a representative of a perfect Brahman spiritual master. Srivas Thakur represents the perfect Brahman devotee. These 5 are known as Pancha Tattva. Tihan Shyama Vamsi Mukha Gopa Vilasi Ihan Gora Kabu Dvija Kabu Ta Sannyasi. In Krishna Lila, the Lord's complexion is blackish. Holding a flute to his mouth, he enjoys as a coward boy. Now the self-same person has appeared with a fair complexion, sometimes acting as a Brahmin and sometimes accepting the renounced order of life. Atahivapane Prabhu Gopi Bhavadari Rajendra Nandane Kahi Prana Natakari. Therefore, the Lord himself, accepting the emotional ecstasy of the gopis, now addresses the son of Nanda Maharaj, O master of my life, O my dear husband. So in other words, Krishna, in the mood of Radharani, is worshipping Krishna because he wants to understand her love for him. He wants to see himself from her perspective. And number 3, he wants to enjoy as much as his greatest devotee, Srimati Radharani, enjoys. Say Krishna, say Gopi Parama Vivroda Achincha Charitra Prabhorati Siddharavoda. He is Krishna, yet he has accepted the mood of the gopis. How is it so? It is the inconceivable character of the Lord which is very difficult to understand. Krishna's accepting the part of the gopis is certainly contradictory according to any mundane calculations, but the Lord, by his inconceivable character, may act like the gopis and feel separation from Krishna, although he is Krishna himself. Such a contradiction can be reconciled only in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he has energy that is inconceivable, achintya, which can make possible that which is impossible to do. Agatha Gathana Patiyasi. Such contradictions are very difficult to understand unless a devotee strictly follows the Vaishnava philosophy under the direction of the Goswamis. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ends every chapter with this verse. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yara Asa Chaitanya Charitamrta Kahi Krishnadas. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta following in their footsteps. In a song by Narottam Das Thakur, it is stated, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Haibe akuti, kabe hamabu shabo se, yugala piriti. The conjugal love between Radha and Krishna, which is called yugala piriti, is not understandable by mundane scholars, artists, or poets. It is simply to be understood by devotees who strictly follow in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis. Sometimes so-called artists and poets try to understand the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna, and they publish cheap books of poetry and pictures on this subject. Unfortunately, however, they do not understand the transcendental affairs of Radha and Krishna even to the smallest degree. They are simply meddling in a matter in which they are not fit even to enter. So the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna are between Radha and Krishna, who are both Sach Idananda, eternity, bliss, knowledge, and Krishna's body, and Krishna's self, and Krishna's mind, and Krishna's personality. They're all Satchidananda, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. And if you don't know what Satchidananda is, that's okay, because in this world you would not have experience of it. So, in other words, there's no pus and blood bodies interacting with each other like there is in this material world. And when the pus and blood bodies interact with each other, you simply got the hormones that cause people to feel in a certain way. For example, when people, sorry about this, if I'm offending someone, when people fall in love, it's just chemistry. Just like this big company called DuPont used to have some advertisement of miracles of chemistry or something like that. But it's just chemistry. Your anger, just chemistry. Your love, just chemistry. Your lust, just chemistry. Your hunger, just chemistry. Your pain, just chemistry. Your pleasure, just chemistry. Now that I've destroyed the illusion for you in this world, you can drop off of this class and get back into illusion. But anyway, it's just chemistry. That's it. That's it. It's. You're enjoying different tastes in this world. Just chemistry. And of course the soul, but it's all indirect. It's just a virtual reality. It's just chemistry. Just like a video game. It's just computer chips and programming. That's the naked reality of this world. And I hate to spoil it for you. But in the interaction between Radha and Krishna, it's the souls. You know, sometimes people talk about my soulmate. You know, they have this like new age fantasy of looking for your soulmate. And so you go all over the universe. Where, oh, where is my true love? Where is my soulmate? Well, your soulmate is in your heart. Hridesharjuna Tishtati. Frank Govinda says, what about committing offenses? Because they ignore, no, but you have the ability to counteract chemistry. You can't blame the chemistry for your nonsense. If the chemistry tells you to punch someone, you can also, as a spirit soul, say, body, do not punch. So you are responsible. You are responsible for how you react to the chemistry. That's why Vacho Vegam, Manasakrota Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarapashta Vegam. That if one can withstand and tolerate the pushings of chemistry, it's all chemistry. You should just go to university and study chemistry. If you can withstand it, of Vacho Vegam, the pushing of the tongue, belly, gentle mind, anger, and words. Perfect verse. Thank you for asking that question. Then, at that point, you could be a guru. That's the quality of a bona fide guru. And you can make disciples all over the world. If you can just tolerate chemistry, that's all. And you don't even have to go to the university to study chemistry. Anyway, I know that most of us are involved in the chemical reactions, and we love the chemical reactions that the tongue experiences. You have, oh, let me have some nice chemical reactions on my tongue today. But in the spiritual world, you can actually, with the soul, taste prasadam. Because your soul can taste prasadam in this world too. But Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti Uchite, you have to have purified senses. And those purified senses occur when you take prasadam. Anyway, a little complicated, but this material world is yantra rudani. What does that mean? That's Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita. Ishwara sarvabhutanam. Aradeshe arjuna tishtati. Brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudani maya. What does that mean? That the Supreme Lord, Ishwara sarvabhutanam, is in everyone's heart. But where? Hridesha. That means in the heart. Arjuna tishtati. He is situated. And Brahmayan, the living entity, is wandering. Brahmayan sarvabhutani. All the living entities are wandering. They're wandering. Yantra rudani maya. They're situated on this machine of the material energy. You know, the chemical machine, whether it's a biochemical machine or regular chemical, but it's chemical. Just like if you study biochemistry. I don't know if any of you study biochemistry, but life is composed of proteins. And proteins are composed of amino acids. And amino acids are are molecules. And they have a specific shape. And when you put a lot of amino acids together in a specific sequence, you got a specific protein. And that protein has a specific function, whether that function of the protein is to carry messages or whether the function of the protein is a structure to the body, or whether that function of the protein is to carry the garbage away, or as a machine. It's chemistry, boys and girls. You better believe it. Okay, that was a sannyas. What would happen if we gave up our attachment to the chemical reactions while we're not pure enough to experience the spiritual bliss that we tried to make? It's impossible to give up your attachment to the chemical reactions unless you're actually experiencing a higher taste. So you can't give up your attachment. If you prematurely try to act like you're unattached, you'll get in trouble because the chemical reactions will ultimately overcome you. As Krishna says, that one may pretend, one may be a pretender, but ultimately one will succumb to the chemical reactions. So then it's like sublimating something. When you sublimate a particular desire, inclination or something, it comes out another way. Just like sometimes people want to get rid of certain or ignore certain chemical reactions. Like they say, I don't want to fall in love. Sorry if I'm being humorous today. Destroying everybody's illusion. Anyway, if someone says, I am going to push down these chemical reactions that are causing me to fall in love. As they push them down. And then the person becomes, instead of, manifesting love, the person becomes angry. So it comes out as anger. So when you actually are prematurely attempting to ignore those chemical reactions, you can't give up the attachment to the chemical reactions. But when you're prematurely trying to ignore them, they will come out in some other way when you least expect it. Like sometimes you run into someone who's really not ready to renounce this world, and they're angry as hell. They're just like, oh, he's angry. Oh my God. All I said to you was, how are you doing today? And you yelled at me. That's the problem. So, therefore, one has to be properly experiencing spiritual bliss, and not only experiencing spiritual bliss, one has to identify oneself. This is beyond the spiritual bliss. One has to identify oneself with one's real identity. Gopi Bharta Padakamala Dasa Dasa Dasana Dasa. One has to realize who they are. Like if you realize who you are, then you won't get so upset. For example, let's say you're working a job. Okay, you're working a job, and there's a danger they're going to fire you from the job. Okay. So two scenarios. One is you're dependent on the job, and if you don't have the money from that job, you ain't eating. Or to put it in English, eating. You're not going to eat. That's one scenario. Another scenario is you're just doing the job as a service or as a hobby, but actually you have millions and millions of dollars in the bank, and you have a life outside of the job, and you're just working the job as just to whatever, take up your time. Then if you get fired from the job, Hare Krishna. So it's the same way for a devotee, that things work out in the material world, don't work out, then Hare Krishna. I have my spiritual identity. I'm a coward boy. I'm a gopi. I'm a parent of Krishna. I'm a servant of Krishna. Wow, I have a real life. It's just like, all right, let's give an example. Let's play you're playing a video game, and you have a real life. You're a very rich person, good health and everything like that. But in the video game, you get killed. Or you fall in love in the video. I don't even know if they have video games where you fall in love. I'm sure they do. That would be good. Just pull the plug on you. So, let's say they had a video game where you fall in love. All right. See, is the microphone working? Yeah. So, let's say there's a video game where you... Let me just make sure the microphone... This is interesting stuff. Where you fall in love, but actually you have someone who you really love in the real world. So then, just the video, so what, This lady who I fell in love with in the video game was just an illusion. Even though she looked good on the screen. Then, or he looked good on the screen. It's just an illusion. So because there's real life. So for a devotee, to be detached from this, really detached from this world, means to realize the real life, internal or eternal, real life with Krishna. And then you could go in this world and not be disturbed. Dhiras tatra namuyati. Actually, that's one of the first things that Krishna says in the Gita. What dehinosmin? Yata dehe komaram yovaram jarat tata dehantaris praptir tatra namuyati. That one should remain undisturbed. If one actually, but the only way to do it is to understand who you are. If you don't understand who you are, and your whole sense of identity is based upon this illusion, then obviously chemistry rules. So go get yourself a chemistry set. When I was young, actually one of the first things I did when I was young, I got a chemistry set. And I was making up all sorts of potions. I hate to say it, sometimes I would make explosives. Fortunately, I didn't lose a finger or anything like that. We make rockets and explosives and things like that. So anyway, it's all the miracles of chemistry according to DuPont chemicals. Or natural chemicals. Okay. Organic, natural. We are organic, natural chemicals. Of course, if you've had any surgical procedure, then you may be partially inorganic. Just like me. I had 2 surgical procedures. One was cataract surgery, and they put inorganic lenses in my eyes. Boo. So I am partially inorganic. And also I had a hernia surgery, and they put a little net that was inorganic there too. So, okay, enough humor for today. Let's go on to the next few verses. Ite tarka kari de keha nakara samshaya krishnera chincha shakti he matahaya. One cannot understand the contradictions in Lord Chaitanya's character by putting forward mundane logic and arguments. Consequently, one should not maintain doubts in this connection. One should simply try to understand the inconceivable energy of Krishna, otherwise one cannot understand how such contradictions are possible. Achinchad Bhuta Krishna Chaitanya Vihara Chitra Bhava Chitra Guna Chitra Vyavahara. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are inconceivable and wonderful. His ecstasy is wonderful, his qualities are wonderful, and his behavior is wonderful. Tarke Hanahi Manaye Durachara Kumbhipaki Pache Tara Nahika Nistara. If one simply adheres to mundane arguments and therefore does not accept this, he will boil in the hell of Kumbhipaka. For him there is no deliverance. Kumbhipaka, a type of hellish condition, is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 26th chapter, text 13, wherein it is said that a person who cooks living birds and beasts to satisfy his tongue is brought before Yamaraj after death and punished in the Kumbhipaka hell. There he is put into boiling oil called Kumbhipaka, from which there is no deliverance. Kumbhipaka is meant for persons who are unnecessarily envious. Those who are envious of the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are punished in that hellish condition. Achinchakalu ye baba natvam stakena yojiyat prakriti bhya param yatscha tad achintyasya lakshanam. Anything transcendental to material nature is called inconceivable, whereas arguments are all mundane. Since mundane arguments cannot touch transcendental subject matters, one should not try to understand transcendental subject matters through mundane arguments. This verse from the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva 5.22, is also quoted in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.593 by Srila Rupa Goswami. Adbhuta Chaitanya Lilaya Vyahara Vishvasa Sejanaya Chaitanya Rapada Pasha. Only a person who has firm faith in the wonderful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can approach his lotus feet. Prasange kahilahe siddhantera sara ihaye shune shuddha bhakti hayatara. In this discourse I have explained the essence of the devotional conclusion. Anyone who hears this develops unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. Likita grantera yadi kari anuvara tavese grantera artha pariye ashvara. I repeat what is already written. If I repeat what is already written, I may thus relish the purport of this scripture. Deki grante bhagavate vyasera chara katahahi anuvara karivara vara. We can see in the scripture Srimad Bhagavatam the conduct of its author, Srila Vyasadeva. After speaking the narration, it repeats it again and again. At the end of Srimad Bhagavatam in the 12th canto, the 12th chapter contains 43 verses in which Sri Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasadeva, Veda Vyas, recapitulates Srimad Bhagavatam's entire subject matter. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wants to follow in the footsteps of Sri Vyasadeva by recapitulating the 17 chapters of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta's Adi Lila. So we're going to end here, and tomorrow, most likely, we will finish this 17th chapter of the Adi Lila. Okay, and we went up to text. Hold on a second. Let me write this down. 277, 2, 3, 12 today. Okay, so we will stop sharing and take some questions. Hopefully people didn't get upset with my mood of detachment today. It was all meant to help Prime Govinda understand things. Because he has one more year till he takes sannyas, so we got to put him through all these tests to see who we're going to put him through the most. stringent sannyas tests. We're going to send him to the heavenly planets to let him watch the apsaras to see if that disturbs his mind. We'll send him to Fiji to watch all the native Fijians dance, the native Fijian girls dance. That would be funny. Okay, so who has a question? As you can see, I'm in a little humorous mood today. So, who has a question?
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Oh, okay. Sumuk, let Sumuk go first.
Gurudev, this morning we had a class on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam,
Yeah.
uh, where it says that there was thunder and lightning. Uh, then the voice came from the sky that the eighth son of your sister will kill you. So
Yes.
I was wondering, the thunder and lightning is in charge of
Indra.
Lord Indra,
Yeah.
the king of heaven. So maybe that was his voice coming from the sky, or whose voice was it, Gurudev?
It didn't necessarily have to be Indra's voice, because Krishna is ultimately, he can take charge of any of the material elements anytime he wants.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying, from the information I have, it's not mentioned whose voice it was. Could have been Narada Muni's. Usually in those cases, I mean, this is just speculation. Usually in those cases, it's someone like Narada Muni creating trouble.
Okay.
Like Narada Muni, he would advise Kamsa that basically you can't be sure which son of Vasudeva and Devaki is going to kill you because they may be counting different ways. And so Narada Muni inspired Kamsa to kill all the sons, not only the eighth son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So you usually find that Narada Muni is the one who's just like causing trouble in these particular cases.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Second question. In the class, you read that we should not understand transcendental topics with mundane understanding.
Yeah.
What do you actually mean by that, Gurudev?
Well, through our mundane vision, like we project our own mundane understanding, our mundane emotions, in terms of our bodily relationships, exactly what I was describing. And we think that Krishna's relationship is like, just like you're married, you have a nice wife, she's a nice devotee. And so you're thinking, oh, my relationship with my wife is like Krishna's relationship with Radharani.
That's not true.
I know it's not true. But some people think like that. I've had young people come to the temple and they say, oh, this is my Radha and I'm her Krishna.
Rascals.
I'm sure you've heard that. Especially if
Yeah.
you watch Hindi movies, you'll see that quite a bit.
No.
This is my Radha and I'm her Krishna. But anyway, that's a pretty bad Krishna, full of pus and blood and stool and mucus and urine. Krishna's body is what? Eternity blissful and full of knowledge. If you have to make a verse up about, I don't even know the Sanskrit, but anyway, Tridaduke. If you have to make a verse up about a mundane man or mundane woman, it's just like Ishwara. That this person is not the supreme controller and they have a body made of blood, pus, mucus, stool. Maya is so funny. Maya makes us run after things that are just like really not relishable. Wow. Can you imagine, like, you go to a hypnotist and he hypnotizes you. You are a dog. You are a dog. You are a dog. Bark. Woof, woof. Roll over. Beg. So Maya, it's so amazing. Maya's just like cheating us in so many ways, and we are just saying, yes, thank you, Maya, for cheating us. All right. Oh, I think I have a question from Braja Lila. She has her hand up.
Hardball, please accept my obeisances.
Accept my
Can you hear
blessings.
me?
I can hear you. Sorry for
Okay.
preaching so heavy about renunciation.
No, that's okay. I'm wondering, like off of my question that I asked in the chat,
Yeah.
um, sort of two things. First, like, do those, does that detachment or that taste, I guess, the taste come in time and with what, like reading or whatever else? And then the second thing is that, sorry, I'm on the road. um, uh, does that when we really like at least intellectually know that we don't want to experience the lower taste, we'd rather experience the higher, but we just like obviously it's really scary to be thinking, oh, if I don't have these lower tastes, I won't have any taste because we don't have spiritual emotions yet or feel them. Then it's
Yeah.
like, what do we do? Like it's really frustrating to have to go to those lower tastes.
Yeah.
And we want the higher ones, but we aren't there yet. What do we do?
We have to be practical. We have to understand where we are and we engage our chemical reactions. Sorry for that example again. I mean, I'm a scientist, so I'll always go to machines and chemical reactions. So we engage, we understand what material needs we have. Like getting back to practicality, we have material needs. Yes, we haven't been transcendental, so there's Krishna conscious ways of engaging that. And that enables us to remain stable and steady in the process of hearing and chanting so we can ultimately, after many years, transcend this world. So I'm not advocating for everyone to, renounce this world. In fact, I'm advocating the opposite. That the statements I made was simply for Pran Govinda, not anyone else. He's the only
Well,
one who's He's the only one who's qualified to hear what I said in class. Everyone else should forget everything else I said.
well, it's
Forget because
also it's
yeah,
frustrating to like read that these are the things that we're attracted to are so um low,
illusory.
and also to feel like, yeah, to feel that they're low and illusory, and then to not really feel like there's an alternative, and also that those things are just in our hearts and we can't get rid of them because we're not there yet, and we really don't want them there, but they're there, and it's like it doesn't even really, there's not even much like pleasure, but it's almost like what else is there?
Yeah. So in other words, that requires a great deal of humility. That's a point you brought up. Is that we'd like to think more of ourselves. I mean, we like to think that we're more Krishna conscious than we actually are. Like yesterday, Pran Govinda mentioned that there were a lot of people who were supposedly renounced that are no longer renounced, living in Alachua, within a few miles of him. And so we have this overinflated conception of ourselves. And so it's important to be internally honest with ourselves and understand. I mean, just like I like tasty prasadam, and Prabhupada liked tasty prasadam too. So, of course, my tasty prasadam is the same every day. But I like my cooking better than anyone else's cooking. Yeah, I'm addicted to my own cooking. I mean, other people's cooking's all right. I hope Lila Shakti's not listening. But anyway, so, so but I'd like to have nice tasting prasadam. And of course, prasadam I offered to my deities and everything like that. So I'm dovetailing my desire to have nice tasting prasadam. So one has to just be honest and realize, like Prabhupada even said, of course, Prabhupada's absolutely pure devotee. Prabhupada said that it's better to die eating tasty prasadam than to eat bland food. And one point, as I mentioned, Prabhupada said, let the starvation committee go to hell, when they were trying to give Prabhupada some bland boiled food. So the point is that one just has to be humble. Yes, I'm trying to be a devotee. I understand this is the goal. And right now, my point is to dovetail my material propensities in Krishna's service. That's all.
Is it
I mean,
is it
and then
also possible?
Yeah.
Sorry. Is it also possible to pray to Krishna to like remove these things if they're really making us suffer and we see that they're making us suffer?
Yeah, I mean, I would pray to Krishna to let us realize our spiritual identity because that's the cure. You know, just removing them. If I say, you know, Krishna, just remove my desire to drive a nice car or something like that. It's an inside joke for those of you who know me. Anyway, if I say to Krishna to remove my desire to drive a nice car, that's, you know, it's a negative. You can't do a negative. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say, Krishna, help me realize who I am. I mean, this is what I do. I pray to Krishna, Krishna, please realize that, please, my dear Srimati Radharani, please realize that I am, you know, your servant. Let me realize that. And once I realize that, it takes care of all the negatives. But until then, we utilize our material propensities and desires in Krishna's service. Is a dovetailing. Like if people get married, they have Krishna conscious children. And that's actually many great devotees like Bhaktivinoda Thakur were married and they had Krishna conscious children. So I'm not preaching against it. I just said, I'm just trying to train up Pran Govinda. The rest of you forget everything I said. Pran Govinda is going to become a fanatic, disturbed sannyasi like me, you know. I'm gonna make him as crazy as me. That's my intention. By the time I'm finished with him, that Prahlad Maharaj will never recognize him again. I'm going to teach him how to make Prahlad Maharaj laugh. That's it. It's a big challenge. Anyway, so it's a good point, a good question you raised. You know, we're aware of these desires, we dovetail them, we use them in Krishna's service, Krishna is pleased, and that's perfection. And many great devotees have done that. Many pure devotees, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and others have done that, and that's fine. That's fine. And, you know, we don't want to impose a mood of guilt on people. You know, it's just like, you know, I like driving a nice car. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. You know, oh, you're in Maya. You're driving a nice car. I mean, just like the other day, I was driving someone's car, actually, Champaka's car. I was driving Champaka's car, and, you know, she has a nice car. I just have an old car. But anyway, she has a nice car, and I was driving her car, and we had a clear road, and I pushed down the accelerator and went from 0 to 60 in roughly 2.5 seconds. And I enjoyed it, and I'm not embarrassed about it. I was dovetailing because I was going somewhere to serve Krishna. So if you're going somewhere to serve Krishna, and you can do a little speeding and have fun and get away with it without getting caught by the police, go ahead. Anyway, what an example. An example. Don't worry, be happy. Okay, one other person can ask a question here. Actually, my disciples are very merciful to me. They let me drive their cars. Okay.
Can I ask you a question, Maharaj? Please accept my humble obeisances. Oh,
Yes.
congrats to Prabhupada.
So what's up? What's up, Maharaj?
Maharaj, I'm your servant. Maharaj, why, the question I have that why Srivas Thakur, who is a Narad Muni,
Yeah.
I do not recall Naradiya Gopi's involvement with the Ras Lila or anything. But how come Mahaprabhu was igniting some kind of in reciprocation with Srivas to go on and speak more. I got little lost. Why Mahaprabhu was encouraging Srivas to talk about Ras Lila when Srivas, in his origin as a Narada, or I don't know if it's Narada Gopi.
Narada Muni is generally depicted. That's actually a good question. Narada Muni is generally depicted as a devotee of Narayan. Generally, that's a depiction of Narada Muni. However, in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, you've read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita?
Yes, Maharaj.
Where does one see Narada Muni?
He goes everywhere.
He's everywhere.
Yes.
So, in other words, Gopakumar asked Narada Muni, I see you here, I see you there, I see you everywhere. And Narada Muni explains that's the nature of a pure devotee. So Narada Muni has a manifestation, just like all the parents of Krishna are expansions, and even the demigods are expansions of Krishna's associates in Goloka Vrindavan. Right? Like you have Aditi and Kashyapa, right? And their son, of course, was Lord Vamanadev. So they're considered expansions, not ordinary demigods. I mean, they're expansions of Nanda Maharaj and Yashodamaya, and Vasudeva and Devaki are expansions of Nanda Maharaj and Yashodamaya. So you have, in the place of these great devotees, you have manifestations of them, the original manifestation in Goloka Vrindavan, and the expansions on other realms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I mean, it's really interesting. Anyway, Brihad Bhagavatam. Yeah?
Jiva Goswami Pad says that Drona and Dara, who are the expansion of Nanda and Joshoda,
that's right,
cannot be taken that position by soul in their perfection. But Vasudeva and Devaki, or you said Kashyapa Muni and Mother Aditi, that position, that's a post also.
Yeah, they're expansions or empowered expansions.
Yes.
We call empowered expansions. But nobody can be Nanda Maharaj or Yashodamaya. Nobody can take that position.
No.
But in this world, you could become the father of one of Krishna's incarnations. You'll be an empowered expansion of Nanda Maharaj. Gets a little complicated. But anyway, Narada Muni in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita is depicted as manifesting on many different levels. So it's inconceivable. I mean, he knows, and he goes to Dwarka also, right? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, even though he's a devotee of Narayan, he ends up in Dwarka visiting Krishna in all of his houses. And then he talks to Kamsa about the 8 sons of Vasudeva and Devaki. And then he goes to Vrindavan and he appears as Nardi. And also, interestingly enough, Narada Kund, where he instructed Kayadu, the mother of Prahlad Maharaj, is in Vrindavan, is in Govardhan. Have you ever been to Narada Kund?
Once, long time.
Once. It's right across from Kushima Sarovara. You go off the main road, and it goes all the way.
I'm going to go with you, Maharaj. I'm going to go with you.
All right. We will see. So anyway, so it's right off the main road, and it's a beautiful pond. And they have a deity of Narada Muni, and they chant. Actually, they chant Radha Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radha Radha, which is the same thing as Hare Krishna. There, so
isn't that Nimbarka Sampradaya?
Yeah, that's Nimbarka Sampradaya. Which they also worship Radha Krishna and Nimbarka Sampradaya.
But I was told that one Acharya, I don't know exactly who said it's a Shakya, not Parakya. conjugal. They worship.
Yeah. Some of them, no, but actually, Nimbarka originally talked about Swakiya. Parakiya, sorry, Parakiya. Nimbarka actually talked about Parakiya. He's one of the few ancient acharyas who actually talked about Parakiya Bhav. Anyway, that's a little complicated for everybody here. Oh, time to end class. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about Srivas Thakur, whose appearance day it is tomorrow. So that'll be tomorrow, same time, same station, for those of you who are in different locales around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.